Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Deadly plane crash near Galveston, what Houston police know now as the investigation continues. And a scam against gift card owners netted this trio millions of dollars. How they did it and how long this scheme has been active. And we check in with the president of the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent, calling for increased awareness for those in need.
The fog has begun to roll back in here into the Crossroads region, but how long is it going to last? Plus, is there any relief anytime soon? We'll talk about that coming up.
And the Industrial Coastal football team reveals their all-district awards. We'll talk about all of them later on in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Trenton Whiting, in for Don Brubaker and Shauna Curry. ABC 13 in Houston is reporting a deadly plane crash this afternoon that killed 4 people. A CNN report says it was a Mexican naval plane transporting burn victims before it crashed into Galveston Bay. According to the report, at least 1 burn patient was on board. The report says at least 8 people were on board when it experienced an incident on its approach near Galveston. The Mexican Navy and Texas authorities responded to the scene. Authorities were waiting for the Federal Aviation Administration that will likely investigate this incident. 3 men arrested in Texas for a $14 million gift card scam that also hit the Gulf Coast. The men are accused of cloning hundreds of gift cards, stealing funds before customers could use them. They told investigators they hit up to 10 stores a day since May. All 3 now face first-degree felony charges, and authorities warn shoppers to check gift card packaging for signs of tampering. The arrest involved multiple Texas law enforcement agencies, including Garland and Dallas Police. The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent is teaming up with local businesses to make sure no one in the community goes hungry. 25 News Now's Ray Mosley sat down with the Food Bank's president to get a closer look at what it really takes to put meals on the table for those in need.
The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent is getting into the holiday spirit by working with local businesses to feed people who are hungry in the Crossroads. President of the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent, Robin Cato, wants to remind people that when you think about hunger, it's not always people that you may not know, but it could be your neighbor that's hungry.
It's critical that these organizations assist and give back, and we are grateful that they do.
Cato says businesses that partner with the Food Bank are taking on the mission of healing the hurt of the hungry, and says she's grateful for them.
It warms my heart that many of these organizations are taking the time to help. I love what I do. As I've said before, I feel blessed to be able to do this job, and I hope to do it as long as I can.
Cato says she's appreciative of the people that work beside her and wants to continue fighting hunger one day at a time. Ray Mosley, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner joins Goliad County law enforcement and state agriculture inspectors at a roadside truck inspection station earlier this month to check out a handheld X-ray machine in action. The device lets inspectors quickly scan boxes and even truck walls, catching contraband while keeping honest truckers moving. Commissioner Sid Miller was there with Operation Lone Star and Goliad County Sheriff Roy Boyd, working to protect Texas agriculture and stop illegal activity from entering the state. The technology will be featured on a new show, Texas Our Texas, which starts early next year. Well, it's not cold. We're not going to have a white Christmas. It may get colder by the end of the week, but Christmas, you're not going to need a sweater. But that brings me to a good time to check in with Jacob Lozano, who's been telling us all day, Jacob, it's not going to get much warmer, is it? Well,
it is going to get, it's going to get pretty
warmer.
warm.
Sorry, it's not.
You said there's no white Christmas. I don't know. I beg to differ. A white Christmas in my book, right now, it's a little bit of fog. And that's what we're seeing right now outside.
Technically, yes. Okay.
We are starting to see some fog begin to roll in here for us, and this is going to be a continuation of this pattern that we're going to continue to see here. So fog advisories are up for portions of the Crossroads along the coastline, and it is going to continue to roll in here for the for the rest of the evening into the morning. And there is another fog advisory up north around the Bexar County and Comal County region there. Likely to see the extension of the advisory here for tonight, because the fog looks to be quite dense here for us. As we get to 10 p.m., we're going to get limited visibility here, and this is past midnight. Half a mile of visibility, and it does stick around here for the morning time, so make sure you use those low beams and drive carefully if you got your morning commute for Tuesday. But by 10 a.m., we should start to see some clearing. However, if you're along the coastline, we get more of an advection fog. It's actually going to be sticking around here for most of the day on Tuesday, and then we start once again rolling back in with the fog here, and it's going to pick up once again here for Wednesday into Thursday. So fog in our forecast, warm temperatures. Where's the relief? I'll talk about that coming up in the full forecast. Trenton.
U.S. airports are gearing up for what is expected to be an extremely busy holiday travel season. The Transportation Security Administration says it's fully staffed and ready to screen more than 44 million travelers during the holiday period that began Friday and runs through January 4th. That would be a record if those projections hold up. Passengers arriving at airports will see some changes from a year ago. TSA now requires travelers to have a real ID. The agency also has a new pre-check line for members of the military and other uniformed service members. Some airports have even dedicated screening lines for families, and passengers no longer have to take their shoes off when they go through security checkpoints. Now, if you're planning to travel over the holidays, beware. Experts say being in crowded places like airports or celebrating with others indoors increases your risk of being exposed to respiratory viruses. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither talks to a doctor about how to help yourself stay healthy during holiday travel.
It's the happiest and busiest time of year, and if you're celebrating the holiday with others or traveling this season, you're at increased risk of catching a winter virus.
We are going to be inside a lot more, especially a lot of places right now. The weather outside, as the song says, is frightful.
Infectious diseases Dr. Jared Fox with Orlando Health says during winter months, we have to watch out for respiratory viruses like COVID-19, flu, RSV, and human metapneumovirus, which causes symptoms similar to a cold. Then there's GI bugs like norovirus.
We see it most commonly in the winter months as more people are gathering indoors.
Fox says to avoid touching your face and wash hands frequently to protect yourself. And he says to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations, which can prevent severe illness.
Influenza vaccine, our COVID-19 vaccine, getting our boosters, especially for the immunocompromised and the elderly, and the RSV vaccine as well for the older population, our pneumococcal vaccine as well.
If you're traveling by airplane or other public transportation, Fox says wearing a mask can help decrease risk, especially if you're seated next to someone you don't know. And if you're sick this holiday season, help stop the spread of germs by staying home.
We're going to have more people inside. You're going to be exposed. So doing everything that we can to lessen that so we don't have to miss out on our holiday gatherings that we enjoy.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Rhode Island hospital officials have released an update on the condition of survivors from the mass shooting at Brown University. 5 patients remain in the hospital in stable condition. The remaining 4 victims have now been discharged. They were all hospitalized following a December 13th shooting attack in Providence. The shooting suspect was later found dead at a storage facility in New Hampshire. Authorities say the same suspect killed an MIT professor at his home on December 15th. Right now, it's still not clear whether a tipster known as John will get the $50,000 reward offered by the FBI. The mayor of Providence sent a letter to the FBI director calling the tipster a hero and saying he deserves the reward. And the Department of Education will review the safety protocols at Brown University following that mass shooting on campus earlier this month, which left 2 students dead and injured 9 others. The DOE in a news release says it will investigate whether the school violated the Clery Act that requires universities to meet certain campus safety and security requirements in order to receive federal student aid. The 48-year-old suspect in the shooting was found dead in that storage facility in New Hampshire. The medical examiner says he took his own life. The Department of Homeland Security is now offering $3,000 to undocumented immigrants to self-deport by the end of the month. That's triple the $1,000 stipend that's been offered since May. Immigrants who take the offer are also given a free plane ticket, and any civil fines or penalties for failing to leave the country are cleared. The Department of Homeland Security says tens of thousands of people have already taken an exit bonus by self-deporting through the U.S. Customs and Border Protection app. The higher bonus is still a significant savings for the federal government. Officials have previously said it costs an average of $17,000 to arrest, detain, and remove illegal immigrants. Those who leave voluntarily could potentially return to the U.S. through a legal process. A judge set bond at $3 million for a Texas high school student charged with murder. Police say he stabbed the 16-year-old victim to death with a pair of scissors last week during what officials say was a fight over a $21 vape pen. Michelle Choi reports.
Goose Creek CISD patrol vehicle pulled into the Harris County Jail, transferring 18-year-old Andre Matthews. Shortly after, he was moved to the Harris County Criminal Courthouse.
You are charged with murder, which is a first-degree felony.
Wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffed for the first time, Matthews stood before a judge, charged with murder in the death of 16-year-old Andrew Meismer, a Sterling High School sophomore. Prosecutors laid out what they allege happened inside the school Wednesday morning.
She stated that she overheard this defendant and the complainant discussing a vape THC pen, that the defendant had lost his pen and was blaming the complainant for taking it.
That's what prosecutors say a female classmate who witnessed the confrontation told officers. According to investigators, police were called out to the high school around 11:15 a.m. Meismer died from his injuries, a puncture wound to the neck less than an hour later. Prosecutors say surveillance video from school shows Matthews and Meismer together earlier that morning, later entering an empty lab classroom. Late today, the Goose Creek CISD police chief shared in a statement they believe the suspect and victim, quote, knew each other well. In court, we learned where authorities believe Matthews got the scissors used to kill Meismer.
Defendant followed the complainant to the bathroom, searched his pockets, did not find the pen, but instead found a pair of scissors on the complainant's person. He took the scissors and put them in his own waistband.
Prosecutors say the confrontation then moved back into that empty classroom. That's where they allege Matthews pulled out the scissors he had taken from Meismer and stabbed him in the neck. A classmate ran out screaming for help and a teacher rushed in.
Shortly thereafter, witness Davis stated he heard cries for help and observed this defendant holding the complainant in a chokehold with the defendant's arm around his neck. Witness Davis attempted to remove the arm from the neck of the complainant, but this defendant would not remove his arm. He observed blood coming from his neck and the complainant's body.
Today, the judge found probable cause and set Matthews' bond at $3 million. Prosecutors say they plan to ask the judge to revoke that bond under the new state 11D amendment. We spoke to Matthews' defense attorney afterward, who explained what that means.
What happened was judge basically, in an abundance of caution, since there's no case law on it, set a higher bond. Because in a few weeks, we're going to come back for that hearing, and depending on what happens there, either there will be no bond, or the bond will stay the same, or move up or down.
If you see news happening, call our newsroom at 361-576-0026 or send us an email at staff@crossroadstoday.com. And to get more news, weather, and sports, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today, hit the like button, and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, President Trump is shutting down offshore wind farms. The reasons why, next. And some U.S. ambassadors are being removed from their post abroad. What's next for these diplomats after the break? Welcome back. The Justice Department and Attorney General are under fire over the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Meanwhile, as ABC's Rena Roy reports, Senator Chuck Schumer has introduced legislation to hold the DOJ accountable.
The Trump administration facing mounting pressure over the partial release of the Department of Justice files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer introducing legislation today in hopes of holding the Department of Justice accountable for not releasing all of the Epstein files by last Friday's deadline. That deadline mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed by President Trump. And now the lawmakers who wrote that law say they're pursuing inherent contempt charges against Attorney General Pam Bondi for not complying with the law to release all the files. Republican Thomas Massie speaking on CBS's Face the Nation this weekend.
The quickest way, and I think most expeditious way to get justice for these victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi, and that doesn't require going through the courts.
On Friday and into the weekend, the DOJ releasing a batch of Epstein files, the photos released without context explaining what's depicted, and several pages were heavily redacted.
They say that they are in full compliance by continuing these rollouts. They say that it was just merely impossible to be able to hand over all the files with the appropriate redactions.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche telling ABC News more files will be published soon, insisting the DOJ is complying with the law and the release is about protecting victims, adding there is no effort to protect President Trump after one image of him was taken down and later restored.
President Trump has certainly said from the beginning that he expects all files that can be released to be released, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Some photos released show former President Bill Clinton with Epstein, though no Epstein survivor has ever accused Clinton of wrongdoing. A Clinton spokesperson saying this is about shielding the White House from what comes next or from what they'll try and hide forever. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
The Trump administration is hitting pause on all large offshore wind projects under construction, citing vague national security risks. The move could threaten thousands of jobs and slow the push for cheaper energy. Officials say turbine movement and light reflection might interfere with radar, similar to concerns that stopped new wind farms in Sweden last year. But experts say wind farm designs can easily address the issue, and the Defense Department had already signed off on every lease before construction. The U.S. is chasing another ship linked to Venezuela, the third such military operation this month, and it follows more than 24 boat strikes at sea against suspected drug smugglers. President Nicolas Maduro's regime vows Venezuela will respond to the escalation in the Caribbean. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the details from Washington.
Today, as the U.S. chases down a third vessel with ties to Venezuela in less than 2 weeks, Venezuela's authoritarian government with a warning to the American military, calling the escalation at sea illegal and vowing to take all appropriate actions.
If they start escorting these vessels with their own navy, that could force a military confrontation with the United States. We obviously would be successful in overcoming that, but it could actually start something that I don't think the U.S. is intending, which is a direct military-on-military confrontation with Venezuela.
A U.S. official tells ABC News the Coast Guard tried intercepting a ship that's part of Venezuela's illegal sanctions evasion, adding the ship is, quote, flying a false flag and under a judicial seizure order. It follows Saturday's operation in the Caribbean where a Coast Guard tactical team seized an oil tanker. And then 10 days earlier, U.S. forces rappelled from helicopters onto the deck of another oil tanker. For roughly 3 months prior, the U.S. has targeted suspected drug smuggling boats off the coast of Latin America. Officials say it has killed at least 104 people in 28 boat strikes. The government has not publicly provided evidence those boats were carrying drugs headed to the U.S., leaving some lawmakers concerned.
I'm not for confiscating these liners. I'm not for blowing up these boats of unarmed people that are suspected of being drug dealers. I'm not for any of this.
Others support the administration's efforts, including forcing a regime change in Venezuela.
I am all in the camp for regime change, and I'd like to see the people of Venezuela be able to elect a new leader that would not only be good for them, but good for the region and good for the United States.
Some observers say the latest operations to take over oil ships at sea is a direct target to Venezuela's economy, oil exports being essential to Maduro's regime. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
The Trump administration is removing numerous career ambassadors from their posts abroad. It marks the latest shakeup of the State Department and diplomatic corps. Sources said at least 24 senior diplomats have received notice they must leave their roles next month. They say most of the impacted ambassadors are at posts in Africa. The removals also affect posts in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and the Western Hemisphere. The ambassadors were appointed during the Biden administration. Ambassadors serve at the pleasure of the president. Their tenures in each diplomatic mission usually last 3 or 4 years. Political appointee ambassadors usually leave their roles at a change of administration. The career ambassadors are not being fired, but they only have a limited window to find a new assignment. Otherwise, they will have to retire consistent with Foreign Service rules.
Well, this won't be the last time we talk about temperatures being near record high. 82 degrees was the high for today. 83 though, that was the record back in 1981, and we started our day off in the 60s. But we did get 0.04 of an inch there at the airport. Likely going to see a couple little showers. We'll talk about that coming up. Taking a look at one of the houses, this is, I think, reminds me of what the weather's going to be like here for this week. It's, you know, you had your jacket on, but now you're taking it off, and it's going to be feeling quite warm outside. So thank you, Cassie, for sending this in out here in Victoria. And if you would like to send yours, go ahead and go to crossroadstoday.com, hit the menu button, and from there you can go to entertainment and contests, and from there you'll be able to submit a photo of your house. We've got till the end of Christmas here to submit your photos. But other than that, did have a couple little showers that had popped up for the day there. Not too much. It was about a 10 to 20% chance for it. But we did get a little bit at the airport, about 0.04 of an inch. Radar picked up about 0.02 of an inch right around Jackson County, as well as Goliad, 0.04. And down towards Beeville, around Three Rivers, saw some as well. Going to continue to watch for that potential 10 to 20% here for tomorrow afternoon as fog will continue to build up for the day. And then we start to see likely a little light shower that will pick up here for us. But really, it's not going to be one of those big rainmakers or just one of those things that wets your lawn. It's really just going to be a quick 5-minute shower that just rolls right through. And some of us may not even see it. We'll likely just see a little bit of the cloud cover there. But overall, temperatures are going to be in this pattern of just being quite warm here for us, unfortunately. We're going to be seeing temperatures in the 60s to start off with on the muggy side with humid fog rolling in, and then we'll get up into the mid-low 80s here for the high. So near record breaking as well in some days where we could see close to 83, 84 degrees, which is the record for quite a lot of these days here for us. So next 5 days, we're going to continue to talk about these warm and humid conditions here for us until we look ahead towards Saturday. And by Saturday, I mean we're watching for a frontal system to begin to push down here, as we can start to see it there in New Mexico lining up there. And really it makes its way and forms a nice, decent line of shower activity there by 9 a.m. Sunday. And for us in Victoria, likely going to be seeing some of that shower activity extend all the way down south along the Rio Grande River and all the way through North Texas, through Louisiana, up to Alabama, as this frontal system will likely give us the shower activity, and behind it, the colder weather that we've been hoping for, because quite frankly, I'm a little over this 80-degree weather for December, but we're going to have to stick with it for the next couple of days, as well as that fog activity for the morning time. So 79 right there by 3 p.m. South-southeasterly winds will pick up around that time as well. Relatively more of the fog is going to be right around Port Lavaca, because with that advection fog, you got a cooler sea surface temperature with the warmer air gliding off of it. You'll get the radiational cooling with it, so that'll keep us nice and foggy down there. Cuero going to be seeing the cloud cover and the fog as well. And overall, it's going to be quite warm here for the next 6 days, all the way through Sunday until that front moves in. And then we start to see some mid to low 60s pop up there, as well as mornings back in the 50s. That'll be our time to get ready to bring those jackets back out. But until then, enjoy the spring-like weather if you enjoy it, and it'll be over here as soon as you know it. Now, don't forget to scan the QR code for more news, weather, and sports. And speaking of sports, we've got Max.
That's right, Jacob. The St. Joseph Lady Flyers battle Beeville today in non-district action. We'll recap how this game went coming up next. So last week we officially ended football season across the high school area in the state of Texas, but we still had one team that got some top honors there from this year. We're going to go ahead up to Industrial, as they finished off 3-8 overall, but still went 3-3 in district and had a chance to make it into the playoffs as the number 4 seed. They would lose to Blanco 48-23 in the first round, but still had a great season, had some top honors to go along with it. Special Teams Player of the Year going to Mason Hunt, and on Archer Burnett, Fred Smith, quarterback Cooper Francis, wide receiver Ryan Riddle, and linebacker tight end Logan Thomas were all named second team nominations. Now there were a couple first teamers, honorable mentions, and a couple more. If you want to see that full list, just go to crossroadstoday.com/sports. Now over to some girls high school basketball, where St. Joseph Lady Flyers faced the Beeville Lady Trojans at the Flyer Dome. This game went back and forth, but Beeville would pull away, winning 41-39. Senior Jordy Ibarra led the way with 20 points in the loss. Now, even with this game, and a tough one there for Lady Flyers, still their head basketball coach Eric Mercer and Ibarra highlighted how everyone on this team is very dangerous, and they need to keep being prepared and still being ready to go during this holiday break.
So they can't, there's not one player that they can shut down. Like today was Jordy's day. You know, if you go back 2 days ago when we won the Nixon tournament, it was Bella. And, you know, or that same day it could have been Haley. So there's not one person that they can shut down with us.
Locker room after this game, coach said to make sure we're dribbling the basketball, we're doing layups, we're taking good shots, and we're going to have some open gyms. So we're just going to work more to get ready for district.
The St. Joe's Lady Flyers basketball team will be back in action in the McMullen County tournament. That's going to start December 29th through the 30th, and it'll be ready for district play up there in January. Now, another high school basketball game that happened was Cuero High Schools. They faced Sinton, and again for Cuero, they won 73-27 over Sinton. The Gobblers heading into the winter break with some momentum because they won't be back until the Giddings tournament. That'll start December 29th through the 30th as well. Over to the NBA, where the Houston Rockets battled the Sacramento Kings there yesterday, and again, they're not going to be back in action until tomorrow against the Clippers, but get a little momentum after winning 125-124 in overtime actually in this one. So the Rockets, they got major production from Alfred Şengün, had 28 points and 6 rebounds, and Kevin Durant added with a double-double, 24 points and 10 rebounds. Like I said, we'll be facing the Clippers at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow night, and they'll face the Los Angeles Lakers Christmas night at 7 p.m. And finally, even though the Chiefs are officially eliminated from the postseason this upcoming year, they plan to relocate their stadium out to Kansas area. They're at, again, instead of being at the located Arrowhead Stadium. This will be in 2031, and Arrowhead Stadium has been the home of the Chiefs since 1972, and it's going to end here in about 6 years' time for the Chiefs. So tough one all there for Kansas City fans. That's going to do it here in sports. Trenton, back to you.
Yeah, Max, no love lost with the Chiefs, unfortunately for me. But stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take another last look at your weather, and we're celebrating one of the sweetest days of the holiday season next. All right, Victoria, people with sweet tooth like me, today is National Cookie Exchange Day. That's when each person in a group bakes their own version of these popular goodies. Then they exchange cookies to try different varieties, your own little personal take. But here's a little history to snack on from nationaltoday.com. Persia holds the title for baking the earliest cookies back in the 7th century.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, good for them.
Yeah.
They kind of started something here.
Yeah,
you know,
they did.
I love cookies, love Christmas cookies. I'm in the season.
What's your favorite type of cookie?
Ooh, it can't be the classic chocolate chip. Though,
but I like sugar
there's some
cookies
good
though.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna say.
I think that's my. I mean, chocolate
Yes.
chips right there. Sugar cookies my go-to.
That's a pretty big
Fair
time.
enough.
Yeah,
And, you know, Girl Scout cookies are also around the corner, too.
That too.
Need that.
Thin Mints.
Quite
Thin Mints
nice.
are my favorite right
Exactly.
Thin Mints, nice.
Well, so it's a little warm for warm cookies, but you know, you might get a little colder, like you said.
Yeah, but you can bring some ice cream for those cookies, too. I'll say that. But yes, it is going to be quite warm, 81 degrees for tomorrow. Going to be seeing that fog stick around as well. So a white Christmas, kind of. We got the fog rolling in, but we got a frontal system on the way Sunday, and that'll help bring our temperatures right back down.
Yeah,
There you go.
Bring the little jackets out for later in the week.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
thank you for joining us. Join 25 News Now Sunrise with Carolina Estrain and meteorologist Parker Cox at 5 a.m. Jimmy Kimmel Live starts now.